All right, I'm up next with my good take, and I think we're talking about the Spurs all wrong, Mike. Every conversation starts and ends and is filled all in the middle of those two bookends with Victor Wembanyama. He is the capital the capital letter at the start of the sentence. He's the commas in the middle, and he's the period at the very end. I get it. 7'5", unreal skill set, number 1 overall pick, probably the best player in the NBA by the end of next season. But we do forget that a big part of this team is the number 2 overall pick in what was a stacked draft this past summer. And that's Dylan Harper. And I want to start by reading you a tweet from friend of the show, Jay Kyle-Man, who tweeted after the Spurs' latest playoff game, Dylan Harper is going to be the best finishing guard in the league. It's just a matter of how soon. And that got me thinking. And I actually want to take it one step further. He might not just end up being the best finishing guard in the league. I think he might end up just being one of the best guards in the league, period. The guy is a two-way player. He competes defensively. His size is a huge feature of his. He's got a great handle, loves to get to the basket, awesome competitor. He's going to develop as a shooter. All the touch metrics for him, whether it's the float or the free throw rate, all that kind of stuff, all say like he'll get better as an outside jump shooter. And I think with Dylan Harper, who again, the number 2 pick behind Cooper Flagg, one of the generational prospects of this decade. Dylan Harper goes number 1 in most drafts. You're building around the generational prospect of this generation in Victor Wembanyama, but Dylan Harper ain't no slouch, man. Like that guy comes with a high pedigree out of high school, in college. You have seen guys in this Dylan Harper space drafted to other teams where there is no Victor Wembanyama immediately handed the car keys and being like, you are the future of the franchise. And a lot of times guys like Dylan Harper end up being the futures of those franchises. One of the best lead guards in the NBA. He's got everything you would want out of a player who could run your offense. And I think what that means for the Spurs is really interesting, because the dynamic duo of Victor Wembanyama and Dylan Harper is the future of San Antonio. It's not just Victor Wembanyama. He's certainly the headliner. He is the main attraction. But Dylan Harper is right there. And I do not want to put a ceiling on how good Dylan Harper can be, just like I won't put a ceiling on how good Wemby can be. If you let me pick any current duo in the league to build around, I don't think there's any question I'm picking Wemby and Dylan Harper. And by the way, that could also be true of Wemby and Stephon Castle if you really want to do this. Wemby is just that good. But
Wemby and Champagny. Yeah, I'd probably pick, just give me Wemby and any other guy. And that's the duo that I'm probably picking.
But the point of Wemby and Harper is this might end up being one of the league's best long-term partnerships in decades. And I was trying to think of like, when is the last time, because you think about the great duos in the league that we've seen, right? Whether it's LeBron and D Wade or Durant and Steph or whatever. Those were short shelf life things. We haven't really seen two guys just age together. I think the closest thing we have is probably Steph and Draymond, but that's a different version of what I'm talking about. Like, that's not a dynamic duo as much as it's a complementary one. This is just a duo that's like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Like
Jason and Jalen maybe, but they're kind of the same-ish archetype as opposed to these naturally fitting hand and glove things.
Well said, right? So I went back 30 years. 30 years. I think what we're watching right now with Wemby and Harper might be the next Kobe and Shaq. And is it a coincidence that Dylan Harper was drafted exactly 30 years after Kobe was drafted? Yes, it is. But I think it's a cool round number that I'm willing to point out here on the podcast. I think the Spurs are sitting on the next Shaq and Kobe with Harper and Wemby. That's my good take.
I think it's fascinating because I do think that in some respects Harper and Wemby fit together as beautifully as you say, but part of that is because Wemby just opens up so many avenues. Because I do think the one thing that if you're nitpicking Harper, which after an amazing rookie year, there's no reason to, but you have to when you look about these things, you project the future, right? Like you kind of do need to think about it. And is the shot for real? It's come on very strong in the second half of the year, but he's still very low volume. Not enough sample to determine it. And like you said, everything points to a positive improvement in the next couple of years, but you never know. Wembanyama being so capable from outside is part of the reason that Harper is able to get into the lane and try all these crazy finishes. And what's funny is his finishing numbers aren't necessarily that great. Like I was just looking at it earlier, and he's like about the median for his position on cleaning the glass around the rim. But part of it is because his degree of difficulty is so high on a lot of these. And I remember early in the year, I can't remember who said this. I wish I did. But somebody was talking about how they think Harper has a little bit of the Kyrie Irving, Tony Parker mindset, where he's like, I could take this normal layup, or I could turn it into a spinning reverse with an insane amount of lefty English. And he chooses the latter route.
Right.
So sometimes he makes it a little harder than it needs to be, I think, in a way that feels like he's testing his boundaries and figuring out what he can and can't do still, which I think is a great sign for the future. Obviously, it hasn't made him less effective today. But I keep coming back to, like, as amazing as Harper is, as well-rounded as he is, like, I still feel a lot of the same ways about Castle. And I think it's going to be so fascinating to watch those two grow and evolve around each other when they have very similar strengths and weaknesses. They're not the exact same player, and I don't mean to, say that they can't coexist by any means. I think they definitely could, and I think you just, like I said, have so many options when your center is such a strong shooter, when your power forward is such a strong shooter. Like, they get all their shooting from the front court, which allows Castle and Harper to be the best versions of themselves. But I think it's just funny because we can have a very similar conversation about Wemby and Castle in 5 years, and it would not shock me, right? Like, Harper's a little more careful with the ball. I think he's not as adventurous with the passing as Castle, which might just be because he's a rookie and he's still trying to figure out what to do. He doesn't get as many minutes with Wembanyama as Castle does, which might be part of it too. But I watching those two go side by side and figuring out, like, who ends up being sort of the quote unquote alpha ball handler out of them once the Fox era is over, whenever that is going to be, like, just a really interesting watch, because I think both those guys are going to be so good.
I think Harper has something that you can't teach, which is just his tempo. He slows things down. He's so patient. His ability to just be patient with the ball in his hands just belies his age.
Yeah, much more under control than Castle, for sure.
Much more. And, he kind of has to do it, I think, a little bit. He's got to be a little bit slower with the ball. He's not this crazy explosive athlete. He doesn't play above the rim. Like, Castle is a much better athlete, just a raw athlete, than Harper. But I think with Harper, there's a little bit of, like, this Luka Shea quality to his game where he's able to just bump guys off his spot when he gets to his spot, especially when he gets into the paint. He's really strong, and I just want to see what that next step for him is obviously he can finish at the basket, but can he master that 6 to 10 foot away from the basket range the way that Shea and Luka have mastered that range? Because that, to me, is the domain of the star player now. It's that short mid-range area. And if you're able to convert from that short mid-range area at a layup type rate, now we're talking about crazy efficiency. We're talking about getting to the line a whole lot. Like, those are the things that I think Dylan Harper can do. And if he unlocks all that stuff, which, again, I think he will. I think he will unlock all of that. But I'm more interested in that part of his game than even the three-point shot or even figuring out some of these other things. If he figures that part of it out, forget it. And it's such a great point that you make about Wemby, like the way that they just go hand in hand here, where Wemby, like this inverted offense where Wemby's spacing the floor at times and Harper's able to get to the basket. That just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like that 8-foot range, because I do think that one of the interesting things about Harper is his signature move is quickly becoming this pogo stick, TJ McConnell-esque 8-foot jumper. Like, not really a huge floater game in Harper's bag, which is unusual. Like, I don't watch any college, but I think of a guy who attacks the rim, a big oversized point guard. Those guys always have these awesome double-handed floater games, right? Like, but he doesn't really do that. He wants to get there, and then he just stops on a dime, rises straight up, and shoots like a normal jump shot for 8 feet away. And it's an interesting trademark move. You don't see too many guys in the NBA these days with it, because the floater is just so commonplace now. And I just think it's a fun quirk of his game. I like watching it.
Yeah, it's like a jump stop into a pogo stick jumper. It's straight out of the TJ. You're right. It is the TJ McConnell. I never put it together that way. But what this means for San Antonio going forward potentially, because I think, first of all, I'm not trading for Giannis, and I'm not trading for Durant, and I'm not trading for any of these players if I'm the Spurs. Like, that conversation is long over. Like, we're just not doing that. We could win the championship this year without those guys, so we're not doing that. And all of our best guys are only going to get better. You are starting to hear some stuff about, like, well, what do they do with De'Aaron Fox? Da-da-da-da-da. That is a good problem to have if I'm San Antonio, and I'm not making any decisions on that until I absolutely have to. And I don't have to for a while. Dylan Harper is coming off the first year of his rookie contract. We have a minute until we have to make any of those kinds of decisions. Now, maybe there's some decisions that have to happen before that in terms of who we starting, who we bringing off the bench, and things like that. And that's a different kind of conversation. But in terms of like the De'Aaron Fox part of all this, I'll take all three of these guys on my roster right now, no problem, with Victor Wembanyama, and I'll enjoy that for now.
And these rumors started the second they drafted Harper too, because it's like you have three guards, and I've been a big
even before they drafted Harper, because everybody knew they were going to draft Harper.
Right. You've got three guards who none of whom are like dead eye shooters, all theoretically best with the ball in their hands. How are they going to coexist? And I give so much credit to Mitch Johnson, who I picked as my coach of the year. That was not a popular one, clearly, but for his ability to juggle having these three guys all make sure that they all get fed, that all three guys feel like they have a clear role in the offense, that they all are able to take their turns without, sacrificing anything from Wembanyama either. Like, that's a hard thing to do, and I think Johnson has really nailed it. But I'm not as high on the timeline as you. I think they don't need to panic. They don't need to make a panic move this year, but I think they need to be thinking about how do we turn this from a championship contending roster to a surefire favorite that people will pick over the Thunder without question going forward. Hard things to do, but you have to be worried in the back of your head about Wembanyama's health, and just like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a horrifying like previous history, but he hasn't been like bulletproof either. And just, we know the history of guys that big, or like we really don't, because guys don't get that big, but it's not great. And I also think that the aprons just always make the window shorter than you think, even with Castle and Harper on their rookie deals. Other guys are going to get more expensive. They're going to have to find shooting. Shooting doesn't come cheap, and you need it in the front court, so you're going to need positionally scarce shooting. I never want to assume that the window will be long in the NBA. Doesn't mean you make a swing for a superstar, but it means you need to be aggressive with medium moves.
If there is a move out there to go get a wing that is a two-way guy who can help space the floor a little bit, and it costs me De'Aaron Fox, I would consider that. But I'm also not aggressively shopping. I'm being like, oh no, we got to get off this guy. Was I being disrespectful to Shea and Chet when I mentioned best young duos in the NBA?
Right now, yes, because you're talking about two All-NBA guys, right? Shea's the MVP, and Chet is third-team All-NBA. I also think that if you are projecting, it is very easy to take your case and say Wemby is going to be better. He might be better than Shea right now, whatever the MVP says. I don't really want to wade into those waters, but people would argue he is better. And I think it's very easy to project a future where in 2 years, Dylan Harper is an All-NBA guard and can't be stopped and is scoring 25 and averaging 7 assists a game. So I don't think it's a crazy thing to say. I think it is wrong today, but I don't think that's what you're saying, right? I think you're saying that going forward, this is going to be the best duo in the NBA, growing together hand in hand type thing for the next 5 years. And I think that is a very reasonable hypothesis.